What is up, fantasy football fanatics? What is up, IDP Army? It's your man, Jordan Reigns, at 50 Shades of Drunk. If you want to follow me on Twitter, you already know what it is. We are back again today, and we're going to do a real draft. We're not going to do one. We're going to look at a real IDP Dynasty rookie draft. We looked at the entire Dynasty startup draft last week on the channel. You can go back and check that out if you want to. It is available. I think that's probably the last actual IDP video that was put up. And you can check out, see how these teams looked at the end of their startup. And now we are going to take a look at how these teams approach the rookie draft. But before we do that, if you're watching on YouTube, we would appreciate it if you followed us along on our podcast feeds as well. We do a lot of good fantasy football content, IDP, best ball, dynasty, all of it. You know, we're interdisciplinary. We love playing fantasy football. Speaking of which, before we jump into it too much, we have merch. You can check that out down below or link in the podcast description. Oh, yeah. We have a new partner. We are back with the Underdog Crew this summer for best ball. You guys know we've been talking about it, but we officially made it a deal. So if you want to play some best ball with us, we'll be doing a lot more stuff like that on the channel. We would love for you to do that. There's a link in the description for that. And check this out. We're going to be doing a special offer, all right? Not going to say what it is yet. We're going to drop it on June 1st, but there is going to be a special offer coming very, very soon. It's going to basically allow you to get the best ball stuff and the Ultimate IDP Index all with one easy offer. I'll leave it at that for now. So stick around for that. Definitely going to want to check that out. We have awesome rankings. You can subscribe to those on our Patreon, patreon.com/the IDP Army. And oh yeah, we did change the channel name. Well, not name, but the handle to, well, some of you may have noticed, some of you may not have noticed. So go check it out. All right. So like I said, today we are going to take a look at this IDP rookie draft, this Dynasty IDP rookie draft that I did with some guys. Like I said, you can go see the reviews or the kind of the overview of how that draft went, that Dynasty startup draft went on the channel. And before we get too far into it, I just got to say, one of the guys in the league didn't like what I had to say about his team. Well, not even that. I'm sure a lot of guys didn't like what I had to say. And that's fine. You don't have to like what I have to say. One of these guys came into the group chat talking crazy reckless, just running his mouth, which is fine. And I thought it was like in good fun. I think he was actually pretty offended personally that I didn't like his team. He was just hurt. So that's got to address a larger thing, you know, in general. And go check out the Offensive Points Boys' most recent show. Joe said this, but fantasy analysts and just people are so homogeneous right now in the space and take everything slights. If you have a different opinion, they take it as a slight. They don't actually engage in dialogue. They don't engage in back and forth. They don't engage in different point of views. They aren't guys talking about football anymore. It's guys that are posturing. And it's turned into this, it's kind of a mess, honestly, if we're just being completely honest. And it breeds a level of insecurity and whatever else you want to call it. But I'm just going to say this again. I'm going to review these teams like I see them. If I don't think your team's much competition for me, I'm not going to say it is to make you feel good. All right. You drafted the team. Let's see how it does. All I know is that I win fantasy football championships pretty regularly. I know a lot of people don't do that. So you can take my advice or not take my advice. I don't really care. You can take my opinion as good or bad. I don't really care. I'm just sharing it. You know what I'm saying? So it's up to you to weigh or discern if it's any good. And I would do that based on performance, not repute in the friends and good close friends fantasy Twitter. Let's just leave it at that. All right, let's open up this draft board. All right, so let's take a look at this rookie IDP only draft board, rookie IDP only dynasty draft board. And like I said, these opinions are my own. You know, some people may disagree, not like what I have to say, and that's fine. You know, you can have your own opinion. That's great. I encourage you to do that. So, number 1, Will Anderson went. Jack Campbell went next. Pretty par for the course. Like those 2 picks for Dynasty Guru and then Dense Playbook. Tyree Wilson, Drew Sanders. Actually, that's not how I'm going to do this. I don't want to just read this board. If you're not watching on YouTube, go to YouTube and then you can look at the whole board. That's my number 1 suggestion. How I'm going to do this is I'm going to look at everybody's team unit. All right. That's how we're going to do this. So let's start where we left off. Actually, let's not. Let's start with the 101. The team at 101 ended up with Will Anderson, Nick Herbig, Devon Witherspoon, and Ivan Pace. So we got Will Anderson. That's a great pick, obviously, for any team. The number 1 or 2 overall pick in any IDP format, most likely. Makes sense. Happy for him to get that. The rest of the players he pulled, given some of the players that were still on the board, in my opinion, this is just my opinion, some of these guys I don't necessarily think are going to turn in much, but it's a rookie draft. That's what it's here for. Getting Will Anderson alone, 1 and 4. I mean, you know he's going to hit. That's already giving you really good odds. I like that. Next, Den's playbook: Jack Campbell, DeMarvion Overshone, Keanu Benton. All right, we got the draft board open. Let's take a look at the team. So the number 1 overall rookie pick is going to go to the guy who had the last pick in the Dynasty startup. That is Dynasty Guru. So he goes Will Anderson, 101, Nick Herbig, 201, or 210 rather. Sorry. Linebacker to the Steelers. 3 to Devon Witherspoon at 3-1, defensive back for the Seattle Seahawks. And then at 410 to shut out the rookie IDP draft, he took Ivan Pace for the Minnesota Vikings. Overall, I think it's a good group of guys. Getting Will Anderson solidifies his team immediately at the defensive line position with at worst a rotational starter, potentially a weekly lock and load guy. The rest, like in any rookie draft, either side of the ball, a late second round pick, and there wasn't nobody really any trades. You got some developmental pieces. But I like it for his overall team complex. So at the 2 spot in the rookie draft, Dent's playbook, 102 went Jack Campbell, linebacker for the Detroit Lions, DeMarvion Overshone, linebacker for the Dallas Cowboys, Keanu Benton, defensive line for the Steelers at 3-2, and then at 4-9, Henry Toto. I don't know how to say his name very well at all. Toyoyo. I don't know. If you guys know how to pronounce it, give me a little help. Billy put me on game on him, though. Overall, he went 3 linebackers, all of them true, kind of off-ball linebackers. So I like that for him. You could potentially get some plug-and-play weeks. Getting Benton, Steelers defensive line, they usually draft a pretty good player. And most of their players end up being pretty good in one way, shape, or form. So I like that he took a risk here in the 3rd. Kind of a risk. There's some other players on the board maybe he wanted. And then the Houston linebacker at the very last spot, that's really a dart throw in my opinion. But overall, like I said, it's a rookie draft in Dynasty. You really just want to hit on 1 or 2 of these guys, honestly, and just keep building your team. So let's move on to the number 3 spot, 103. He takes Tyree Wilson, defensive line player for the Raiders. At 208, he gets Jalen Carter, defensive line player, defensive tackle for the Eagles. Then, with his next pick, at 3.3, he takes Jartavius Martin, defensive back for the Washington Commanders. Could be something there. We'll circle back to that. And then with 408, he takes Jair Brown, defensive back for the San Francisco 49ers. I really like this team, different than the other 2 teams by in almost every regard, honestly. He takes an edge rusher early, which, that's the same, I guess, as Anderson. But takes the first defensive tackle. Well, not the first defensive tackle, but he takes a defensive tackle with his 2nd pick, Jalen Carter, who goes to the Eagles. Then he rounds it out with 2 defensive backs, both guys fairly highly drafted. That's relatively speaking to this year's draft class as far as, safeties go. But guys in situations where players are going to have to step up. They could see some early playing time. So I like this team. Next, Master IDP at 104, rookie draft. We'll see how he did here. 104, he takes Drew Sanders. At 2.7, he takes Dorian Williams, linebacker for the Bills. At 3.4, he takes is it Marty or Marte? Mapu, defensive back for the Patriots. And then with 4.7, he takes Tuli Tuapulotu, defensive line for the Chargers. Overall, good draft. Dorian Williams could be something this year early. Drew Sanders got the nice double tag like that. Not a bad team. 105 is next. This is my man, Callie King, Mace Riney. He goes off and he gets Luke Van Ness at 105. Comes back at 2.6, takes Will McDonald. So he's stacking those defensive line players, and he's in a good spot to do that. At 305, he comes back and he takes Keon White. Love that. And then he finishes it out with a Rams linebacker dart throw, Jaden Woodby. Overall, I think he got a lot of really good value in his first 2 picks, especially given the teams they landed on and what they'll probably be used for. 1.6 starts the draft out with Nolan Smith. Then he goes Kalijah Chauncey or Cansey. I don't know if it's Cansey or Chauncey. Probably Cansey. Probably Cansey. Then he takes Joey Porter at the 3.6. And then at 4.5, he takes Brian Brees. I think he's got some potential here on this team. Mace kind of sniped him on that first one, though. I think Luke Van Ness would have been probably the preferred pick to Nolan Smith. Maybe not. Joey the Tooth comes in at 107. He starts off with Trenton Simpson at 107. Then he takes Felix and Anudike Uzama at 2.4. Then at 3.7, he takes Sidney Brown, new defensive back for the Eagles. And then he takes Zach Harrison, defensive line for the Atlanta Falcons at 4.4. Not a bad draft. You know, I like the Felix pick a lot. I think Sidney Brown in the third. Why not? You know what I mean? He should get some playing time. And Trenton Simpson, I think that was a good pick too. So overall, I think his team, I'm not overly aware of what Harrison's going to do or have any real big thoughts, but I like that rookie draft. Goes a traditional linebacker, goes a defensive line player, and then goes defensive back. So what's not to love? Next, we go to the 1.8 spot. Gets Miles Murphy at 1.8. I like that a lot for him. I think Miles Murphy, he's going to get on the field sooner than I think we think, and he could be really good. You know, I love Hendrickson and I love Hubbard. I just don't know, you know, I don't know. I think there's something there. I think they spent that pick on him for a reason very early. So then he goes back and gets Christian Gonzalez at 2.3. Then at 3.8, Emmanuel Forbes, defensive back for the Washington Commanders. And then at 4.3, he takes Owen Pappoe, new linebacker for the Arizona Cardinals. Overall, I like the Murphy pick. The rest, we'll have to see, you know. But that's my opinion again. So, you know, I don't know everything about every player or every team. So, you know, maybe he's got some gold there. Next is my team, 50 Shades of Drunk. Let's see how, you know, my team is so good already. If you guys saw the first video, it's probably scary to look at this, but here we go. At the 1.9 spot, I got Dayon Henley, who I really liked, you know, to get him here at the end of the first round. Potentially a linebacker that could be something pretty quick. I got Brian Branch at 2.2. Why not? I felt like that was a great value there for him. My number one defensive back in my rookie rankings this year goes as the second defensive back off the board. Why not? Isaiah Foskey, now getting to play in New Orleans across from Cam Jordan. I got him at 3.9. I think he's got all the tools to be the kind of pass rusher that is going to just score points. You know, I think he's going to be a hustle player. I think he's going to get the tackles. I think he's going to have sacks created for him, create his own sacks. And I think he's going to be one of these new breed defensive line players that isn't afraid to, you know, hop up and use their hands, you know, if they can't get at the quarterback and start making some of these turnover worthy and turnover plays happen in other ways. So I like getting him. And then Noah Sewell at 4.2, kind of a dart throw here, goes to the Chicago Bears. So yeah, we'll have to see how that goes. I got him at 4.2. Now we come to the team that I'm sure everybody's been waiting to hear about. This is team of just a team. We won't name any names, but it's 1.10 in the rookie draft. Goes Ojulari here at 1.10. BJ Ojulari, defensive line / linebacker. Not linebacker, defensive line for the Arizona Cardinals. Not a bad pick, you know. Could definitely be seeing some playing time. Jordan Battle at 2.1. You know, Brian Branch was still on the board. That's a statement pick, I guess. I know. I just I just feel like that's a statement pick. I don't feel like that's the right pick, which is fine. I play every league like I got everything to win and lose on the line. So even if there's not any money on the league, that doesn't mean I'm going to like draft goofy to have fun and all this. Like I'm trying to win every single league. You know, the prize, whether it be monetary or whether it be bragging rights or whether it just being like, I win, that's the prize. I'm not playing to play. So I would not have, I wouldn't do that, y'all. Then at 310, he goes Derek Hall. All right. There wasn't really slim pickings here already at 310. That's kind of why I think those picks were a little iffy. And then he comes back at 4-1 and takes Byron Young. So, linebacker for the Rams, another one of these linebacker for the Rams kind of shots. So overall, if I had to grade the teams based on the rookie drafts, I give team 101 and it's going to be relative to your position, who you took, etc. It's not just going to be based on the players you got. And again, it's going to be my opinion. Okay, so take that for what you will. I'm not an easy grader. Sorry, everybody's not getting an A. This ain't that. Dynasty Guru at 101 with Will Anderson. He's obviously going to skew pretty high. I'll give him a B. I'll give him a solid B here. You really can't go wrong with that. Not sure about some of the value on some of the players that went, but at the same time, it depends on the type of team you're trying to build. So I don't want to knock him just because I'm not overly, aware of what he may see going on here. So, and with Will Anderson, you can't knock it too much. Team 2, 102 spot here in the rookie. I'm gonna give this a solid B plus. He goes linebacker heavy, Jack Campbell, then Jamari Vion Overshown. So you're kind of bolstering your floor by doing that. With rookie picks, you want more often than not just to get something of value, production out of them. And that's more easily manufactured with the linebacker position than the defensive line position or even the defensive back position, in my opinion. And it has probably the most upside to it. You know what I mean? Because again, if they score the most points as a baseline, you get one that hits. That's how you get Devin Whites and Shaq Leonards and things like that. So I'm gonna give that team a B plus because he comes back and he gets Keanu Benton and then Toto. So solid team. 1.3 spot. I'm going to give this team a solid B plus. Tyree Wilson, I like him a lot. Carter, I'm a little less enthusiastic about, especially here at 2.8. But then he gets two defensive backs I think could actually pan out and have an actual pathway to putting points onto your team, not just guys that are maybe going to pan out, situation, value, etc. So, like that for him. Going to give that a solid B. B plus. Master IDP comes in. He got Drew Sanders, Dorian Williams. I'm going to give this one a B. I know, and he also, those are the first two picks. He got Marte Mapu at 3.4, and then Tuapolotu, his last pick. I think the guys he got the two first picks are in good situations to potentially get some really good playing time. The last two picks they're a little bit too dart throwy to me personally to make a big impact year one. So it's a little worrisome, but still a solid B. I think there's a better chance than not that a couple of those guys are going to pan out. So we come to Cali King, my man Mace here, and I don't want to give him too high of a grade, but I really can't be mad at this draft. I mean, I like a couple of things I like about this draft is he committed to the position of defensive line here. So he went defensive line. Nobody else committed to like a position. So that tells me that he didn't just like draft the guy that he kind of just thought was best or just whoever was laying around. It kind of, in my mind, maybe I'm wrong. We don't give him too much credit, but it looks like he did this intentionally. So I have to kind of tip my hat there. Two guys that were touted pretty highly coming out, and this was a class that's supposed to be good. So again, he's taking shots early. I'm going to give this draft our first A. Mace, don't go getting a big head now, okay? But I mean, I'm just being real. I think you did the right thing here because if even one of those guys, those defensive line players, hits out of those three, I mean, you nailed something there. You know what I mean? And you got two really good ones there, and three maybe too. So, yeah, I think you gave yourself a lot of quality outs there. I'll be interested to look at your team a little bit later, a little deeper again, and see if you really did kind of draft those defensive line players to maybe bolster an aging position or a weak position. We'll have to go see. All right, 1.6. let's give this a look. Nolan Smith dropped for whatever reason inexplicably. Gets Cansey in the second, gets Porter, and then Brisee. Is that it? Brisee? Brian Brisee? I'm just calling him Brian Brees. That's probably how you say it. Anyway, I'm going to give this draft from the 106 spot. I'm probably going to give this our first C. And again, this is my opinion. Don't come at me. I'm not coming at you. I'm just giving my very, very biased opinion. Okay. But for what it's worth, I feel like there's a good chance that none of those guys make any meaningful impact to your roster this year as a rookie, except maybe Porter. But even he, because we know he's probably going to be playing, corner. He might play some safety, but if they use him as corner, it's going to be less likely to be a kind of a locked in. But of the group, he might be one of the only ones you could see kind of get in there and actually make a difference for your team. So because of that, because I think there might be a little bit longer runway and a little more uncertainty. Is that a word? Uncertainty. That is a word. I'm going to have to give you a C. Again, don't come at me like some people. Now we're getting to Joey the Tooth, my man, Mr. Joey the Tooth. All right, I already gave your team some love earlier, so I can't show up too much love. But, I mean, honestly, Trenton Simpson, smart pick. I've already said that. Felix, I think that was a smart pick as well, especially because the Chiefs have been so meticulous about how they've been rebuilding their defense. It's been really fun to watch as a Chiefs fan and as an IDP person as well, because it's just they're not making big monster moves, really. They're just kind of putting the right guys in the right spots, and they've kind of built a little powerhouse, low key. Now that Frank Clark needs to be out of the picture and Carlos Dunlap is gone, Carl Loftus is going to have to step up. And then they brought in Charles Omenihu, and then Joey takes Felix here. So I like both of those first two picks. So I'm already skewing to that B plus area. But then he takes Sidney Brown, who, again, I think similar to what the Chiefs have been doing. The Eagles have been kind of meticulously putting together defense. They have solid guys that they build around, but they're not afraid to make moves to put players around them to complement them and each other. So Sidney Brown, though he falls in the real NFL draft a little bit, and in this rookie draft, again, the Eagles don't just draft players to have players around. They have plans for their players. So I like that. And then again, I don't know a lot about Harrison. So listen, don't let people say I'm a hater out here, okay? Because it ain't true. I'm gonna give Joey our second A. All right. What I give Mace? I give Mace an A-. Whatever I gave Mace, I'll give Joey the same. So if it was an A, get an A. If it was an A-, get an A-. But I mean, game recognized game. Well, I don't remember what your regular draft looked like. And again, this is my opinion, so it could be totally wrong. You might have the worst draft ever. So I'm gonna get a big head either. Same message to Mace. Next, we move on to the 108 spot. We got Miles Murphy. This is the Gonzalez, Forbes, and then Papo team. I already kind of said I didn't like this team earlier. I do like Miles Murphy, as a player. And again, I think it's important to take everything in context with the class and the draft itself. And because this is kind of a touted edge rusher class, and because we have had some sort of high level bust, Chase Young. We'll speak about Chase Young in just a second. Speaking of, it makes sense to want to dive into this class, because if that was the rumblings and that's the word on the street, let's manifest. Let's get some shots. So he did get Miles Murphy, but because the other positions are a little weaker, again, in my opinion, I'm going to have to give this one a C. Sorry, Pax. But again, it's just a rookie draft. Most of the time, this time next year, a lot of people just trade all these picks away, right? All right, let's get to this schmuck, Jordan Reigns at 50 Shades of Drunk. I don't know if any of you idiots out there follow him, but that's me. Yeah, Hanley, Branch, you guys already heard me talk about how great my team is. I'm going to give myself a B plus. And I can be real. Personally, I like this team a lot. I think it complements what I have going on. Because I can't lock Henley into a known starting position, I'm not going to gas it up too much for this year. And I always kind of skew things to a little bit more to this year, so I'll have to reel it in a little there. Branch, I think, is going to get on the field early and often and be a difference maker. And then Foskey, I'm kind of banking on him, but I don't know for sure that any of these guys are going to be startable all season long. I have a good feeling that everyone except for Sewell at a certain point in the season is going to crack my roster either because of injuries or because I just want them to, which for me as a rookie is good, but I think it might take a little while. So I'm gonna give myself a B plus. Don't say, there you go. I didn't give myself top grade. Maybe overall draft I like the best, but I can be real. And then we're gonna get to the last team. This is team from the 110 spot, the BJ Ojulari, Jordan Battle, Derek Hall, and then Mr. Young, Byron Young team. So this team I'm going to give a really, really man, I just gotta think about this. So your first round pick was Ojulari with Battle still on the board. So if you're trying to make a statement about Battle, why wouldn't you just take him in the first round? You know what I mean? So I'm a little disconcerted by that. Brian Branch still being on the board, I have questions there. Even Dorian Williams, if you want to be a little contrarian, take him at the end of the first round. So this draft, I don't know how much Ojulari is going to make a difference. The Cardinals are trash. Their defense is trash. I don't know if they'll be able to get pressure. Maybe he'll get a bunch of tackles. Battle could turn out pretty good. Battle could be all right, but Hall and Young, we'll have to see. So I'm gonna give this team a C. I don't want to make anybody feel too bad, so I won't give them like a C minus, or unless I gave somebody else a C minus. Whatever the lowest grade is, we'll just tie this with that. And again, my opinion. So, what do you all think about these teams? There's already been some moves made. Again, speaking of this last team that I just spoke about, it's funny. This is to the team that jumped in the group chat and ripped me apart and said their team was so much better than mine. But then they immediately dropped a player from their team and picked somebody else up. I was like, okay, your team's so good. Why are you already changing it? He didn't like that. And then since then, he's traded for Chase Young. So I don't know. I told him I'll see you at the end of the season. We'll see whose record's better. He blew up in the chat. Be respectful, y'all. If you can talk shit, I love talking shit. You know what I mean? And there's a way to do it. There's a back and forth with a level of respect and, camaraderie. And then there is hurt people that feel attacked for whatever reason, and they lash out. Don't be that person. Don't lash out at people because they say your trade is trash or your team is trash. Maybe your team's trash. All right. That's it. That's all I got. Okay. You know what to do. Subscribe to the channel. Subscribe to the YouTube. Those are the same thing. Subscribe to the podcast. We got both podcast feeds. You want a shirt? Check out the merch down below. Join the Patreon. You can get access to the Dynasty rankings, the best ball rankings, the IDP rankings. All of those are tiered. Or we're going to have an offer available June 1st. That is going to be coming for another way for you to maybe get some other stuff included with that package. So we can just really get to doing what we love to do. And that's just stacking up wins, because the season's coming. Drafting those winning teams, making those winning trades. None of this, everybody wins the trades. Everybody no. Do the math. Have you ever done the math? What's 11 out of 12? So what is that? 92% of your fantasy football league? Losers. Okay. I'm not saying I'm the 1%, but I can definitely be the 8%.